Okay guys, what we're going to do here today is something that I wanted to do for a long time, which is add image support to Austin Feeds Me. Austin Feeds Me is an open source project that's on GitHub, and basically it keeps track of or helps users locate free events or events with free food that are free events in Austin. And right now it's just focused on Austin, but you could really use it for anything. So it's an open source project. I'll show you what the current screen is like. It's basically a list of events, and I know there's a lot of text, so it'd be best to like change this up, and it'd be even better if there was like you know, an image here to kind of like provide some visual flair to the app. So I'm using a tool called Stetho to kind of display what's on the screen right now. It doesn't update extremely in real time, but it's good enough to show what is working and what's not. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on adding support for images using the Eventbrite API, or the Meetup actually API first. So what we need to do, and I think we've looked at this before, is we need to look at what API we're calling, and hopefully everything goes smoothly today, but we'll see. And then how to get images from that API. So we're using version 2 of their API, a URL called Open Events. And we were looking into it last time, and it looks like, so we're going to do a test event here. We're going to try it in the console, and actually I'm going to back out of that and do a new tab. And let's see if we can do zip, get away with just using the zip when we do a request. So we can, and we get a group, and we get a URL name, but you can see that we don't get any photos. But I think there is a flag we can send to the API to ask for photos, or we're going to have to make a second request. So let's see if we can get, you can get member photos, so we can get a group photo. They return when fields request parameter contains group photo. So let's see if we can first exit out of this highlighting. Let's grab group photo. Let's go back to our console. There should be a fields. So if I put group photo there, do we get group photos? Let's see. Obviously I get it there. Okay. So now we get a group photo object. Well, we get a field that maps to an object in our response. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this sample response here. I'm actually going to grab this piece. You know what? I'm going to grab the whole thing here. And it gave us one, you know what, we need to put pizza in here. That'll make it more realistic. So let's put pizza. Let's see what events come back with pizza in it. Okay, so we've got this response here. I'm going to take this object so we can see what this object looks like in a JSON tree. And I use this tool. I'm sure there's a better tool. If you know of one, just let me know. And I'm going to put it in here. And I'm going to do tree viewer. And actually a cool part of this tool is we can take this, we could actually use Firefox. So let me go back. I messed that up. Sorry about that. And let's put pizza here. And zip, we're going to do 04. And then fields, we're going to do group photo. And we get this. And let's see what it just looks like in Firefox. Maybe that'll give us a good. So we can see it here. I actually like this tool. For some reason we didn't copy something right, but let's go back over here. I'm just actually, we've got a good view of this right now. So under group, and let's check our data model now. So I'm not using, unfortunately, I'm not using Kotlin for my data classes yet. This project started a long time ago. But let's find out what our data looks like for our Meetup object. So basically, we've got a group node, and we need to get the group photo underneath that group node. So let's go over here. Let's go over to our data. And we've got a Meetup data source. We've got an event. Do we have a group object here? We've got a group object, but we don't have any group photo associated with it, do we? So let's add that. So we're going to add a field to it called, so we're already in our group object, so we're going to add a field called private, and it's a group photo object. So we're going to need to make a group photo object. So let's actually take this and let's use a tool called, hopefully this works. It's JSON schema to Pojo. And this is just gonna, I think there's a plugin for Android Studio that does this for us, but let's see if this works. So let's take this, and we're gonna be using JSON, and we're using actual JSON, and let's preview. Unexpected character, H. So things are not working out today. I'm afraid if I paste the whole response in here, it's gonna choke, but let's see. Yeah, so you can't paste that much data in here and get it to be happy. So why is something breaking? I guess we can, you know what, we can just do it by hand. Let's just do it by, so we're going to create a Java class. I know it says Kotlin, but for this piece we're going to create a group photo object. And inside our group photo object, we're looking for, let's use our high-res link. I did some analysis, and the high-res sometimes is smaller than the thumb link. It's weird, but so let's say we just want the high-res link. So we're going to do a group photo object, and we're going to, it's going to be a string, so we're going to do private string. I think we can do private fields. And it's going to be high. We're just going to name it something normal. And we're going to call it photo URL. And we're going to annotate it with serialized name. And we're going to put in high-res link as the serialized name over here. So let's try that. And then let's put some getters and setters. Why not? We're going to use the auto generator for that. And then we're going to go back over to group, and we're going to do group photo. We're going to call it group photo. We're going to put some getters and setters here. And nice, it puts them at the bottom instead of right at the top, which it does sometimes. And then we're going to annotate this with serialized name as well. And hopefully this will work. We'll see. So what is our field called? It's called group photo. So let's build this. First thing, it's always good to kind of build incrementally to see if you get any errors. You catch them kind of when they're introduced versus like all of them at the end. Do. And I like building from the command line. I hit play that time, but we're going to queue things up for building from the command line. Okay, so next time we'll build from the command line. The good thing about hitting play is it actually starts the app. So it looks like everything built correctly because it's actually going, we can see down here it's installing. And now my, yep, detached from target, please reattach. So Stetho, the tool that we're using, it doesn't handle restarts that well, but that's okay. So hopefully, if I go to event filter here, and I make a call to the Meetup API, so I'm going to log in here really quickly. And actually Actually, I'm going to minimize this while I enter my password. So now I'm logged in, which means I can filter events, and we need to refresh the menu. I remove some code that used to refresh that automatically. Let's clear all this stuff. So now we're in the filter mode. So we've made some calls. If we can see some Meetup APIs here, you can see when it reloads, we've got Meetup. So we've successfully called the Meetup APIs. I'm not sure if we're logging our responses, but what we can do here is we can go to our Meetup data source, and when we return the events, we can see if we have a group photo object. So I'm going to put it in debug mode here, and I'm going to attach to the process and press back, and then go back to event filter, which should make our Meetup call. And it was cached, so we might not hit it, but we did hit it. And now we've got this, and hopefully, whoa. We should have our Meetup events and our results filled. So do we have, we've got a Meetup event hash map. We're basically filtering out events that we've already seen. And we've got group, and we've got group photo equals null. And the reason that is because we didn't do one thing. So the proper way to do this would be to add a fields query parameter, but we're going to hard code it since we've been hard coding stuff so far. So we're going to go over back to our Meetup API. We're going to look at like what the kind of and then we're going to add this fields equal group photo. So we missed that the first time. Let's not miss it again, and it's upset because we need to put this in a. So now let's rebuild this. And I should have deployed it using debug mode, so we'll do that at the right time, hopefully next time. So it's installing. One thing, this is built in an instant app setup, so you can actually use this app without installing it on your device. The app's called Austin Feeds Me. It's an open source app. If while we're working through this you have any questions, feel free to message me on Twitter. It's at whereisdarren. Feel free to try the app out on the store if you'd like. It's Austin Feeds Me. If you have any suggestions or you'd like to help out, please let me know. We've got plenty of work to do. Okay, so let's connect to our process, and I'm going to go back to events filter, and I'm not going to connect again, but it's going to go make some Meetup calls. And then we're going to go back to this, and we're going to go up to our event map. And let's see if we have a group photo. So we're not going to look at the key, we're going to look at the actual event value. And we're going to, and now we have a group photo, and we have our, let's copy the value and let's load it, and let's see if we've got something legit here. Ah, that looks like a fun group. So that's what we're going to be displaying on our cards. So let's go to our list view now. Let's get out of our debugger. We're going to ignore the breakpoints. Actually, I'm going to remove this breakpoint so we don't hit it in the future. Okay, so now we need to update our cards to show the URL, basically the photo URL on our card. So let's go to, I think it's our events list. And this thing sometimes doesn't automatically go in there. You know what, we're going to browse to it this way. So let's go to events, and we've got an events adapter, and I don't think I have an image loading library in here right now. So we're going to have to choose one, and guess what, I already chose it. It's going to be Glide. But we don't have Glide in our app yet. So we're going to go over to the internet and go to GitHub, Glide, image loading. Okay, and ProGuard, that's going to be good for us later. So where are the actual, where's the implement? Okay, so here we go. This is what we need. So we're going to add this dependency. Let's do image loading. We're going to externalize this. So let's remember 4.7.1. I don't know if we need these, but we're going to do that anyways. And Control R. Whoa. That didn't work out initially. Whoa, 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 whoa. We definitely don't want to do that. So I'm going to do this by hand then. Since it's just a little, we can get away with doing this. Okay, and then now we need to go specify our glide version in our global properties. So it's up here. And what was it? It was 4.7.1. Let's go to glide version here. And it wants us to sync. Gradle always wants us to sync whenever we touch the Gradle file. Hopefully this doesn't put us over 4 megs for our instant app. You got to be very careful when you're updating things and you're working in an instant app scenario. And it's actually good practice. You want to keep your apps light and fast to install. I can tell you sometimes even on 4G, for whatever reason, I get a 50 meg app and it's going to take a couple minutes to install, and I literally just stop. It's like, you know, I'm going to do this later, and maybe I never do it later. And an instant app completely removes that. You can install it run it straight from the Play Store without even installing. So it's good. Okay, so everything seemed to work out. I'm just going to hit a play while we're going and working on the events adapter. So we're in our events adapter. There's some dirty stuff here, and we'll clean it up. But for now, let's go to our text view. I'm not a fan of the design view. For those of you that are, great. We might go to preview though. So let's check out what our preview is. And I don't even think we need event details button, because if you just tap the card, we can launch the event details. And that's probably easier than having an actual explicit button. But we'll work on that later. So our layout right now is a linear layout in vertical orientation. It's got the time and then the title. What I really want to do is put the image over to the left. So you're kind of looking at image and then details and then some other stuff. So I'm just going to quick and dirty this. I'm going to put it in wrap the whole thing in a linear layout, and it's going to be match parent width. And it froze, so we'll give it a second to figure out what it's going to do. I guess it's not going to do anything, so it just wants us to type it out. So we'll do that. And our height is going to be wrap content. And guess what? Our orientation is going to be horizontal, because that's how we're going to lay things out. We're going to do our image view and then horizontally lay out. Wait, I have an image view in here? Okay, that was to indicate the kind of event. So we're going to have like a pizza icon if there were pizza there, and beer if there was beer there, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do a quick auto indent. I like to keep this stuff kind of clean and indented properly. So we're going to do an image view here, and we're going to do I don't know what we're going to do. Our width is really the thing that we want. So our height, our width is going to be our main determiner, and we really want to kind of do this in a percentage base. We want them all the same though. So I'm thinking 120 dp might be a good place to start. So let's do 120 dp, and for height we'll do match parent, and let's give this thing an ID. Group photo. I like to preface my things with the type and then the actual name, and then if there's a lot of things with the same name, I'll actually put in like perhaps like adapter. We're using Kotlin, so I'm not sure if I'm using synthetic imports on here. I think I am, so I might change the naming. No, I'm not. I'm not using synthetic imports. So I'm not going to change the name yet. Let's see if I can, how do we, synthetic import Kotlin. I think we can just do import. Let's try it. It might be a good time to switch over to that. Import. What was the namespace? Eek! Then we can get rid of our find by ID. I wonder if we can do an import inside of Viewholder. Kotlin X. I'm not sure if I have synthetic imports enabled. Yeah, I don't think I do. So we're going to back out of that real quick. So let's go back to, now we got to hook up our image views. So we're going to do, and this is probably saying it can be joined with assignment. Okay, that's great. Okay, so I don't really want to, I don't think that's that clean, and we're going to move to synthetic imports probably. So we're going to back out of that. We're going to keep things looking like they used to look. So we're going to do var, and we're going to do group photo image view, and it's of type image view. And then down here we got to do our assignment. Why isn't it finding it? Do we need to build? That is some ugly Kotlin. That's what happens when you do convert to Kotlin. I'm pretty sure this, oh, this is a different project. I wanted to look at the Android architecture ones. Let's see if they've got an adapter here defined in the Android architecture example contributor. They do. And how are they doing their Viewholder? They're using data binding, okay. Or they're probably, yeah, they're using data binding. Okay, so we're not using data binding on this project. But now we've got this, so now what we can do is we can bind up here in our onBind Viewholder, and yes, I understand we can make a bind method, but this project has been working for like a long time, so not everything is basically oh, you know what? We're using glide here, so we need to do glide dot low. I'm forgetting glide dot width. Do we have context here? We do have context, so we would do this. I normally don't like keeping load, and then we're going to do event dot, and we might not have a group photo with our event. And actually, we need to make sure we're persisting our group photos. So before we get that far, I'm going to create some events in our Firebase data store. So when we actually show these events, we're using Firebase. So let me load Firebase here, and I'm going to create a couple test events using the filter tool, and I want to make sure that they're created in Firebase with the group photo, or else when we try to access it, it's not going to be there. So let's go to our data store. We basically have one massive list of all the events that have been filtered, and I'm going to do, we should see some new events being created, and we do. And let's see if they have group photos. So they do. So that means we should have them in our event object. And there's our happy group again. But we're going to do null check anyway. So we're going to do Viewholder. We're going to do event dot group photo dot group photo, and let's do run and glide dot with context dot load it. What does it pass in there? I thought we could do that. Oh, you know what we need? We need the actual URL. Can you do this? My Kotlin is a little rusty. Yeah, you can do this. So when we do run, we use this. Calls the specified function with this value as its receiver and returns its result. So that means we're going to get whatever the result of a load, which is a request drawable. And I think that's the basic syntax of glide. I haven't used glide firsthand in a couple weeks, so I'm a little bit rusty on my glide. Let's just make sure that's all we need here. Did we do into? No, we need to do into. And we're going to do Viewholder dot group image photo. I'm not a real fan of how that lays out. That's a little prettier, I guess. And we need to do this actually. So now if we have a group and we have a group photo and we have a photo URL, we'll run that. And there's probably some more concise syntax to that, but that's what we're going to use for right now. Okay, give me a second. I need to switch something off over here. Okay, everything's looking good over here. And so now we should, let me find an event that has some food. So when we test this out, let me build it. So this should work. And then if we can't find any events with food, free food, I'll just add one for test purposes so we can see if the photo URL works. So I'm just going to actually press a couple has food for ones that don't have food, just while we're in development. And yeah, we could have a stage environment, but we don't. So I pressed has food for about 7 events, and we're building, and then once it's done building, we're going to connect to it. In Stetho, I'm going to close the old Stetho that I bombed out. So this one's been disconnected. So you can see that we now have event. We now have photo URLs. But we want we should have a default photo URL, right? And this is kind of jacked up, this entire like card view. It's not as clean as it could be. So we'll fix that. And the other thing we need to do is we need to, in our onViewRecycled, clear the image or set it basically to the default. So right now, if the cell is reused, we'll see the same image again. So let's do those two things. Let's set our default image, and let's recycle the image back to the default if there is no image when the view is recycled. So I'm going to set a default image in the layout, and I'm just going to use one from the, we're just going to create a simple one here. So we're going to go new. Maybe the default image we can use is our pizza logo. Let's do that. So temporarily, let's set, I wonder if there's a, let's see if there's a vector axis for pizza. Pizza. So since we're, okay, let's try that. We're going to make it blue once we're done. So what is our blue color that we're using? Here it is. And then just change something over here. Okay, so let's use that. Let's set our default image to this. And I might have to do source compat, but we'll try. We are targeting 21 plus. So we'll do drawable, and we're not going to do the apple emoji. We're going to do pizza. What was it called? IC local. Pizza blue 2040p. Do we need to do source compat? So now we're going to have to do a little bit of research. None of those are what we want. I guess we can use app compat image view. We don't have app compat image view. Let's run this, see what happens. There's our happy group. So things finished building, and it actually shows up as a pizza icon. So let me connect to, you can see that we've got our image that we loaded from the Meetup API, and we've got our pizza now. So we're well on our way to getting images. What we now need to do is recycle, on view recycled, set our image back, cancel load, cancel our glide load, and also set it back to the default. So let's do that. We're going to override on view recycled. And we're going to do our call to super, and then we're going to do glide dot with context dot clear, and we're going to get access to our holder dot group photo image view, and then we're going to do glide. And we don't actually need glide for this one, we can just do set back, but we're going to use glide here anyways, why not? And hopefully that'll work. Let's run it. Everything should be good. So here we're clearing any previous loads on our image view, and then we're loading our default drawable, which is a vector image asset. So our UI is really cluttered right now. One thing I want to do is I want to remove this event details button and make the whole card tappable. So let's review let's look at our events details button, and we call it event URL. So we're just going to remove the button from our layout, and then what we'll do after this is we'll add image support for our Eventbrite API. So I'm going to remove this app compat button, and I'm sure it's going to make a whole bunch of things angry. That's okay. It's already angry a little bit. Okay. So if this is, and maybe we'll remove that. Why not? And we'll do this. Create namespace declaration. Okay. Suspicious namespace and prefix combo. Okay, that's fine. So why is it upset? Did we remove something we needed? Let's just press back and see if when we did our removal of the button. Oh, okay, so we removed the end relative layout tag on accident. So now everything's good. We basically got these indicators for pizza, beer, and taco, which we haven't been utilizing, but we can hook those up later. And let's go to our events adapter. It's not going to be happy now because we removed the button. So let's do that. And we're going to make our on-click basically our entire item. So item view, set on-click listener this, and it looks like it was. So we don't need this. So in this, we have two on-click listeners, one for the card that delegates to the card, and one that basically delegates it to whoever set itself as a listener, which is probably our presenter. So just temporarily we're going to do this, because I don't think we have that other listener hooked up. And we're going to do event dot and I don't know why it's capitalized, but we're going to do URL. We're going to rename this to event. Okay. And we're going to put our call to our listener down here, and this is not best practice, but We're doing this just to kind of prove a concept temporarily. So let's press play, and the idea is like basically now if someone clicks the entire card, it should launch the URL for that event, which will either open up the app if you've got it installed and load the event details, or open up a web page with the event details. Okay, so let's get ready. We killed the app. Let's reattach. And it's blank, but not really. So now our button is gone. We've got our default pizza icon. We've got our icon for the groups that have group photos. And what I'm going to do, so let me show you what it has right now. And I'm going to tap the entire card, and we'll see. I don't know if it'll show the rest of the phone, but basically I tapped the card and it opened up the Meetup app with the event that I tapped. Okay, so we've proven that we can load event URLs or group icons, group photo URLs, and we've done that for Meetup. Now let's do it for Eventbrite. And just real quick, I'm going to go to our events, and I'm going to do optimize imports, because I can see we've got some imports right here that aren't used. And then we'll work on delegating to our listener. This is an interesting syntax here. I'm going to need to look at what that is. I'd really like this to be replace event, so we'll probably do that later. Set list, get item. So there's some definite cleaning we can do here. This is not the cleanest code, for sure. But let's go to the Eventbrite API documents and see how we can add basically photo support to our Eventbrite API. And before we do that, let's commit. So let's do git add, and let's do commit add group photo support for Meetup API. Let's do a push. Cool. So that's done, and then let's research what the Eventbrite API has. And just out of curiosity, let's see if anyone's actually using Eventbrite on Stack or has a question about it. So there's 11 questions. So there's some people that have tried to integrate the Eventbrite API. So let's go to Eventbrite now. And we're using the events URL. And I don't think they have a test. They will tell you the response, but I'm not sure if they have a test, basically a trial environment. So we'll have to experiment. Unless, what is Eventbrite Spectrum? Okay, so it's probably some kind of platform stuff. So I want to see if there's a photo or image in the event. Okay, so public expansions logo from logo ID image. Event is an object representing anything from a small birthday party to a massive stadium concert and everything in between. So public fields, public expansions. So let's read what expansions are. Eventbrite has many models that refer to each other, and often you'll want to fetch related data along with the primary model. A list of relationships to additionally fetch with every call. Okay, so we're going to do expand equals, and then we're going to have to do logo, it looks like. So let's look at our Eventbrite data source and see, or Eventbrite service, and see what we've got here. So we do expand, organizer, venue, and I think we're going to have to do logo, comma logo. And then I really wish we could test this out somehow. Is there any test environment here? Meh. I don't see any. So we're going to have to test it using the app. So I've got Stetho installed. Do I have HTTP logging? Maybe I do. Let's go to our network mod. Do we have a network module? Let's see. Let's go to data. Actually, we're going to need to go to DI. I think that's where we construct our... Where is our data? Oh, it's down here in prod. And you know what? I think we're constructing it in the individual data source. So we're going to have to go to Meetup data source. Yeah, we are. So I would normally construct this using DI, but we don't have that right now, and we need to clean that up later. So let's go. Let's find our... Basically, I want to log. Do we have OKHTTP itself as a dependency? We have mock web server. Let's see if there's a quick and dirty way to log retrofit responses. I have a feeling it's going to have us pass in an OKHTTP object. Yeah, using an interceptor. Yep. Okay, so maybe we can do that. Why doesn't Eventbrite have a quick and dirty way to test their API? What if I sign in? Let me do this somewhere else. There's got to be a way to test this stuff without exploring the API. Eventbrite comes with an API Explorer which lets you see detailed information. So does the app page... I could have sworn they had a test environment. You know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna show this way then. So we're gonna go and we're gonna add our OKHTTP logging interceptor to our dependencies. So we're gonna put it under here under debugging. Whoa. We're gonna put it here under debugging. Okay. We're going to sync, and it's going to go, hey, this is out of date, 3.91 is available, so let's do that, and then we'll sync again. And then let's do this. We might have to add a dependency on OKHTTP. I'm not sure if we can access it. So let's go back to our Eventbrite's data source, which is not using DI. Or our Eventbrite data source, not the service. So here we go. If we paste this Java in here, it should autocomplete. Okay, we don't need all this logging. And then now we need to do .client, I think. Oh. See, that's the problem when you don't name your stuff correctly. So we'll need to do .build. And this is really an OKHTTP client.builder, so now when we do our OKHTTP, or when we do our Eventbrite requests, we should see the logs in Logcat. And actually, Android Studio has a built-in network monitor, which we might have been able to use, but I'm not that familiar with it. So let's build our app, and then let's make some Meetup requests and see what our data model looks like. Or make sure we're getting our images back in our response. Okay, still building. And everything worked. That's good. And like I said, if you have any questions or would like to help out, feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. So let's open Logcat. Let's make an Eventbrite request, and this is a lot of junk. But we should be able to see a logo somewhere in here. Do we have logo in our response? We have logo ID. So then what do we do with the logo ID? Oh wait, no. Here we've got a logo right here. So there's a logo object. If I click this, does it load? It does load. So let's look at our logo object. It looks like, hopefully that is a, you know what, can I just get the URL we're calling? That might have been way easier. Why am I doing this the hard way? So if I just take the URL, goodness gracious, that is ugly. But it works. So here it is, the logo object, the logo key or field, and then it's mapped to an object, and we can use, I don't know what the difference is between these two URLs. think we want to use the original. So let's see how big the original is. Okay. So we're going to create, so we've got another data model for our Eventbrite service. And let's add something for photo. And it's going to be called logo. And you know, we need to create our logo object first because it's going to be hard to map. Logo. We want to add it to our Git repository. I should have pressed yes. So it automatically does that. So we're going to create, we're really only concerned with original. And this is another nested object. There's probably an easier way to do this, so let's think here. We'll just call it original image for now. Original logo. And then we're just going to have one field that's the string. It's called URL. So we'll do @serialized name URL. And we're going to do, it's going to be a string. And this is where data classes would be nice. And we're going to migrate to Moshi at some time, but not today. And we're going to call it logo URL, give it something descriptive, and then we're going to put some getters and setters out here. Who knows if we're going to need them, but we'll just do that. And then inside here, we're going to do an annotation. We're going to call it original. And then it's going to be of type original logo. Whoop. And why not put, let's put some getters and setters here. Alt insert. Oh, and it does it like that this time. That's the kind I don't like that it does. And then let's go back to our Eventbrite event, and we're going to have to do a mapping here. And I didn't create a map function, but that's something that I want to do. We're going to call it logo. You know, we might want to call it Eventbrite logo. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did we already have a logo type there? I guess we did. What have I been doing this whole time? We already had logo. Well, now we got logo for real. Oh! And then logo had a URL, so we didn't have to do original. We could just do this URL, which I think would just give us the original. But that's okay. Okay, so we're just going to call this Eventbrite logo. What was logo matching to? Oh! We had an inner class of logo. So we're going to nuke that real quick. We're going to rename our logo object to something a little bit more. Well, it's in the Eventbrite package, so I think we're okay now. So, you know, I probably should do this as an inner class just to keep things a little bit. And we'll leave it separate for now. Did we already have logo? We didn't, but it had logo on there, so whatever. Okay, so now we've got this, and we've got logo in here. And we've got get logo and set logo. So now we need to do a mapper. We've got a mapper function somewhere. I think it's in a util class. So we can map basically our event from an Eventbrite event to something the rest of the app can use. So we take an Eventbrite event and then we return an event, and I call it transform, but what we need to do is we need to do so how do we do our group? So we do group, and we need to do set group photo. And this is not the cleanest way to do this, but return event.group, set group photo equals oh, we need URL. Okay. So now basically if our logo is not null and our original logo is not null and our logo URL is not null, then we set the group photo URL on the return event. So let's run this, and then let's add some Eventbrite events to our Firebase repository and make sure that they're saved. Where's our Firebase? Here it is. And I'm going to remove our logging because it seems like we're perfectly fine on our logging. Maybe I'll make sure it works before we remove it. So I'm going to go down to some Eventbrite events. If I can find some, there should be some somewhere in here. I haven't done a filter in so long that... Okay, so I'm going to click has food for Meetup, and this actually has free beer, so that's a legit one. And do we have group? But we don't have group photo. So do we have logo? We don't have logo. So why did that not save? Let's go to our event filter adapter and see what we might be missing. So do we have event filter? We have event filter activity, and let's go to our adapter. I don't know why I didn't pick it up earlier, and let's see what happens when has food. Let's do on click. So add event takes, we set a value, and this is dirty. We do this basically in 10 different places right now. Let's set a breakpoint. Let's see what our event object looks like. And we're back in Java land, so we need to convert this back too. So let's go and let's do has food on this. And let's see what our event object has. It has group. Group photo is null. Why is it null? So that's why our group photo is null. So let's go to our Eventbrite utils and let's see if our event that we're returning are actually having the group photo set. So they're not being set. So does our Eventbrite event, which we're passing in here, have a group or a logo defined? No, it doesn't. So original logo is null. So we're not actually setting it from the data source. So that means something perhaps in our deserialization is not working. So let's go back to our Eventbrite data source. Let's see here. And let's make sure this is the important line. Okay, all the lines are important actually. Let's see here. So original, let's check our mapping again. So let's go, where's our Eventbrite? We're under data, Eventbrite event. We have logo mapped to our logo. Why is this all weird? Access can be made private. Okay, let's make it private. Logo. I bet it's because this is not supposed to be a capital O. Okay, let's make it private. And let's do the same one. And I'm actually liking to do annotations like this now. Saves more space. So, and let's rebuild this. And I think that's going to be what sets us straight here. Alright, so it's built. Let's open Firebase and let's add some events. And I got a crash. I bet it's because the group photo is null on something. So let's sort this out to error. Group photo must not be null. So we actually need to set a group photo object for our group. So we'll do inside here, what we're going to do is we're going to do turn event.group. And really what we want to do is make a constructor that takes the URL. So let's generate a constructor that takes a photo URL. So now what we can do is we can just real easily instantiate this object and assign it at the same time. And I'd like to call this Eventbrite event so we know what we're working with throughout. And this would probably be better as a builder, but we'll let that be the way it is, and this util class could be refactored better for Kotlin, but we'll let that be the way it is. Okay, so let's keep going. Alright, we're almost there. So here we go. Almost ready. Installing APK. And then after this, I'm going to let you guys go, take a break myself, and we have another crash right off the bat. On data change. Okay, so we're having a map issue. Austin feeds me group photos is not defined a no argument constructor. Okay, so when we created this, we need to add a default constructor, no arg constructor. Okay. I wish there was an autocomplete for ignore this so it doesn't warn us, but basically JSON, Firebase I think uses JSON for deserialization. They might have written their own deserializer, and it needs a no arg constructor. Okay, so we're loading. Okay, so the first event we've got, it has food, and we added it. Let's see if we got a group photo URL in here, and we do. Okay, so that means we added an Eventbrite event that had a group photo. So what day is that? It's called Document Solutions. The challenge is this a valid URL? Because for some reason it's not loading on the card. Okay, now it is, but it didn't load the first time. I don't know if it was because it's too big of a file. How big is this? That's what she said. Just kidding. I think it's because it was so big it took the app a while to, so we might actually need to use a smaller compressed version. So what in the heck? View image info opens that. Okay, this is what I was looking for. So it's almost I mean it's over half a meg, I think. So it could be that it just didn't like loading that whole thing. But let's, to prove that it worked, let me open this up in Stetho, and we can see our recently added Eventbrite event has its logo loaded here, and it doesn't look the best, but it works. And we could improve the padding and remove some of this text, wall of text here, and make the cards more concise, which we will do. But overall, we were able to add photo support to our app. And let me back out that logging util just temporarily, and load our images in our app with not too much work. And we'll actually pull images from 2 different data sources. So that was pretty good. So let me do another build. And so now our users will have a little bit more spice when they look at our app. So let's commit it. And like I said, this is all open source, so if you'd like to look at it, help out, whatever, clean up the code. Obviously there's some dirty code in here. Feel free to. Add Eventbrite API image support. And there we go. Pushed it, and we'll get a new build out on the Play Store probably pretty soon. Hopefully we're still in our 4 meg instant app. So let's see if we are. If we go over here and we go to build, analyze APK. What are we at here? Ooh, we're at 4.9 megs. but I don't think we used ProGuard. Did we? Do we use ProGuard in our debug builds? Yes, we do. So we need to... It was Glide. Glide bumped us over, wasn't it? What bumped us over? Ooh. Yeah, I mean, or Goo. There's a lot of stuff in. Do we really need that much GMS? GMS adds 1.5 megs. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's a lot, because only 369 were added. Stetho added a little bit, so we could nuke Stetho. And then what is this 1.4 down here? IO, ReactiveX, Arcs, Java adds 1.3 megs. There's got to be something misconfigured with our ProGuard rules, but we'll look into that on another day. Anyways, thank you everyone for watching. Like I said, if you have any questions or comments or feedback or like to see anything, please let me know. Thank you. Bye.